Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Tuscaloosa. I am Ruth Van Lillian, the minister. We welcome you to this covenantal community founded on love and a commitment to our free faith. Amidst the beauty of autumn turning, let us welcome each other into this virtual space. We especially welcome those visiting with us this morning. We are so glad that you are here. We invite you to connect with us in the comments below or via our website or Facebook page. We join with all members of the Unitarian Universalist Association in affirming and promoting the inherent dignity and worth of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in all human relations, and the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. We bear witness to the pain and suffering of persons of color in our communities and across our country, and we continue in our commitment to fight injustice and to search for ways to build a better world. Black Lives Matter.
Good morning. I'm Steve Borelli. I'm the lay service leader for today. If you want to follow along, you can access our order of service through the link below in the comment section. If you're not seeing the comment section or the link, if you're watching us on a smart TV, for example, you can use YouTube. Go to our UU Congregation of Tuscaloosa YouTube channel through the YouTube app on your PC or your smartphone or your tablet. There's also a number of important announcements in the order of service, so I encourage you to read it carefully. Our church website and Facebook page also have information about upcoming online activities. And finally, we have a listserv that's called NewsNet that members and friends can use to keep up to date on church activities. So we leave no stone unturned in trying to keep everybody up to date. We also invite you after the service, immediately following the service, to an online coffee hour, which will enable us to fellowship with each other and build community. You can see the link for the online coffee hour, again, in the comment section below, or if you're on NewsNet, in the email that you received recently about today's service. The prelude prepares us for today's service.
Good morning, we are Chalice Lighting, and we are lighting this morning chalice.
We light the chalice at the beginning of worship to set apart the space for worship, and we invite you at home to light a candle, light a chalice, burn some incense, spray some air freshener, whatever you need to do to set apart this time at home for worship with your community.
We light this chalice as a beacon of our faith and as a reminder of our commitment to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We worship together by celebrating that which is sacred to us individually and collectively.
Our opening words are a poem, Face and Heart, by Francisco X. Alarcón. May our ears hear what nobody wants to hear. May our eyes see what everyone wants to hide. May our mouths speak our true faces and hearts. May our arms be branches that give shade and joy. Let us be a drizzle, a sudden storm. Let us get wet in the rain. Let us be the key, the hand, the door, the kick, the ball, the road. Let us arrive as children to this huge playground, the universe.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the chord of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
When we gather in loving community, we remember that we do not travel this earth alone. We share our lives as we light candles and hold each other in meditative thought and reverence. I will light a candle here in my home as you light a candle in yours, and we will observe a moment of silence while you share your joys and burdens by replying in the comments below and engage with each other in celebration and condolence.
If you are watching live on Zoom, this is a time to place your joys and concerns in the chat while I share joys and concerns from earlier in the week. An anonymous member of our congregation lost their dog this week. Very sad. Sarah turns 30 today. Happy birthday, Sarah. Richard is still struggling with health challenges. Let us keep in mind all of our elected board members who are working very hard on some challenging things. That's Karen, April, David, Celesta, Bev, Carl, Melissa, and Jackie. And if you see them or talk to them, thank them for their work. And let us be thinking of all our fellow citizens of the United States during this pivotal upcoming week. May peace prevail. Let us spend a few moments of silence together, and I will close us with a few words. Let us remember at a time when our energies are focused specifically in one area, that people are still living, struggling, laughing, crying, dancing, dying, that life continues and the needs for care and compassion and justice never end. Let us remember that we do not walk this earth alone, that we walk together. Amen. Shalom. Blessed be. I'm lighting a final candle for the joys and concerns that were put into the chat and all of those things which went unspoken today. Good morning. So glad that you're with us today. We've got something very exciting coming up. We have a big election in 2 days. Today's Sunday, and the election is on Tuesday. Now, you've probably been hearing something about the election. The adults in your life may have already voted, because we've had a lot of early voting. But the final chance to vote is on Tuesday, and those who haven't voted yet will go to their local polling station, and they will be given a ballot, and they'll take a pen and they'll fill in the ovals next to the candidates they want to elect and turn it in, and that is voting. And then we'll all wait and see which candidates win the election. Now, you may have noticed that some of the adults in your life, or maybe on television, seem to be very excited about this election. Some of them might be nervous. Some of them might even be angry. Maybe it's been a little upsetting for you. I just wanted to let you know that no matter who wins the election, no matter which candidates are elected to serve in office for another several years, the adults in your life, your parents and your teachers, are going to keep you safe. Your life will continue just the way it is. Everything is going to be okay. And one day, you're going to be an adult, and you'll have a chance to vote as well. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Out of gratitude for all we have been given and all we have now, we share our resources because we love and trust each other, and because this church enriches our lives and empowers us to make our world better. We rely upon each other, members and friends, and we appreciate the payment of pledges and the generous donations to support the legacy, vision, and work of this church community. Contributions may be made by PayPal using the link below in the description, or by mailing checks to UUCT. All undesignated contributions will be divided between our Split the Plate recipient organization and our congregation. Our Split the Plate partner for this month will be shown on the screen as you're listening to this. Please mark your pledge payment to UUCT in the comments field on PayPal or in the memo line of your check. If you prefer to write a check to the selected organization, please mail it directly to the address we include in the description of this video. The offertory music will continue in this window as you open a new window to make your contributions. by the work of our hands and the generosity of our hearts, our love is made real. Thank you for these gifts.
Ever been skydiving? For most of you, probably not. Me neither. In fact, I am fundamentally opposed to skydiving for myself. The only way I would ever jump out of a plane is if it was on fire, and even then, I'm not sure. I do know a few people who have done this, some during their military experience, and a few who have actually done it for fun. I knew a guy some years ago who had been a member of a skydiving club during college, and he jumped 26 times on purpose. He used to say that any idiot will jump once. It takes real courage to do it again. He said facing your second jump when you've been through it and you know what it's like and how utterly terrifying it is, well, that takes a lot more courage. I'm guessing that everyone listening to me today has made the jump to vote in a presidential election, and most of us have probably done it many times. Many of us have contributed money to support our candidates, and some have volunteered to work for those campaigns. My parents kept a news clipping of me as a toddler sitting on a big table in the Humphrey Muskie campaign headquarters, surrounded by styrofoam boaters and bumper stickers and envelopes and cheerful, hopeful volunteers. All those supporting the Democratic ticket that year jumped with Hubert Humphrey. But they didn't get the landing they hoped for. Richard Nixon won the election of 1968. What I learned from growing up in such a politically active household is that political defeat, as well as victory, only lasts until the next election. Once everyone has jumped, no matter what kind of landing folk have, the plane will return to the hangar, fuel up, and take another group up for another jump on another day. Like skydiving, voting takes courage. Many may not see this at first glance. For those of us who grew up as white and privileged in this country, we have likely taken the right to vote for granted. I remember being so indignant that I was not allowed to vote in the 1984 presidential election because I would not turn 18 until April of 1985. It was so unfair. I understood voting to be a right, a responsibility, an expected civic duty. I never imagined that anyone might interfere with my right to vote once I turned 18. Sadly, our country has a long history of restricting the right to vote to those of privilege. Originally, only white male landowners could make the decisions in this country through the very limited democratic process. Over the years, more white men were included in the circle of power, and then white women. Black men were included on paper, but excluded in other ways in many states. And black women were treated with the same injustice. Voter suppression continues today through all kinds of legal machinations, such as the popular requirement of a photo ID in order to vote. And not just any ID, but a government-issued current ID, so that folk who don't have the resources to get an updated government ID have their voting rights removed. It wasn't long after voter ID was required in this state that many rural courthouse satellites closed. Only people who could travel to the county seat could get their ID. Only people with money and transportation resources could meet this requirement, which effectively disenfranchised many poor and a disproportionate number of black folk. I know we're all concerned about other efforts to disenfranchise citizens involving issues with absentee voting and voting by mail and early voting in person and failing voting machines, lack of trained polling staff, and more. I know we're also worried about malicious efforts on the part of both foreign and domestic parties who wish to influence the outcome of the election. It seems that our democratic process is under as great a threat as it has ever been in this country. The fifth of our 7 principles, which Unitarian Universalists affirm and promote, is the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. Reverend Parisa Parsa, Executive Director of the Public Conversations Project, reminds us that in our religious lives, the democratic process requires trust in the development of each individual conscience, a belief that such development is possible for each of us, as well as a commitment to cultivate our own conscience. We could call it a commitment to the value of each person. One of our historic Unitarian leaders, Theodore Parker, said democracy means not I am as good as you are, but you are as good as I am. My connection with the sacred is only as precious as my willingness to acknowledge the same connection in others. All people should have a voice and a vote about the laws which govern their society and the statutes which affect their lives. UUs have a long history of engaging the democratic process for the causes of injustice, for the causes of fighting injustice. Our country operates as a democratic republic, which ideally allows the adult citizens to elect qualified persons to represent their interests and the interests of their community in the formation and enforcement of a fair and just legal system and a useful government infrastructure designed to serve the public interest. Of course, we all know that our government is far from perfect. The events of this year have shown plainly and painfully that a representative democracy is only as effective as the persons elected to serve. Sometimes the majority of the voting populace elect representatives who do not serve the country well. We must all live with the results of every election, and every election is an opportunity to change things by changing our representation. Every election is a jump into the unknown, a skydive, if you will. We each make our choice, cast our vote, and then we wait as we fall together through the cold air to see where and how everyone lands. All of us will hit the ground, some gently, some roughly, but it will be the same ground. We will all end up in the same place, governed by those elected by the majority. Unitarian Universalists are deeply committed to the separation of church and state, and we never promote a particular candidate or political party. We find various ways to highlight issues of concern, especially as relates to all causes of human freedom and injustice. We oppose such injustice, any oppressive systems of government and laws which promote white supremacy, heteronormativity, sexism, ageism, and other unjust positions and practices. The Unitarian Universalist Association urges every UU to carefully consider the issues and the candidates and vote according to each person's conscience. The Reverend President Susan Frederick Gray just sent out this message to all of us. As Unitarian Universalists, it is important to remember that our commitment to democracy is not just political or moral. It is fundamentally theological. It grows from our affirmation of the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and the Universalist understanding that we are all part of one creation, interconnected. These theological values of human dignity and interdependence are why we know everyone needs a voice in the matters that affect their lives. As we head to the polls on Tuesday, unless you've already voted, and as we watch the news and the social media, we will be tempted to look around and size each other up as friend or foe. Will they be voting for the same candidates I am, or will they vote for the wrong candidates? Are they part of my party or the wrong party? Are they my allies, my friends on the right side of the issues, or are they enemies on the wrong side? We will be tempted to think in terms of us and them, and we may find ourselves perceiving the people around us as our enemies. We must be very careful about this. If we really believe that people should vote their conscience, then we must allow for people to vote differently from ourselves. People do not always agree, and there is no community more aware of differences or more committed to respecting them than our Unitarian Universalist Church. Balancing our commitment to the individual right of conscience with our commitment to justice and to opposing oppression in every form is our very difficult theological and practical challenge as Unitarian Universalists. We must remember that everyone in this country is scared. We are all scared of what will happen after November 3rd. We are all scared of what will happen if the people we vote for don't get elected. In my lifetime, I don't think the populace has faced an election with more fear than this one. No matter our various views and opinions, no matter our choice of candidates for the many elected offices, no matter which party we support, we are all, every citizen of the United States, united in our fear of what happens on November 4th. Everyone will be forced to jump out of the plane, but the where, how, and when of the landing are very uncertain. If we are extremely lucky, there will be a clear, irrefutable election result on November 4th. Then we can move forward to figuring out what happens next. However, it seems more likely that there will be delay and turmoil over the election results. However the results come out, a significant part of our United States citizenry is going to struggle to get back on their feet after the very rough landing of defeat. If your candidate loses, then you or I will have to pick ourselves up from our rough landing and tend our wounds, grieve for our defeat, and help each other look toward another day and another chance to make the changes we want to see in our government. I believe this might actually be the easier path. If your candidate wins, or mine, I believe it will be harder to respond to that result with the grace and kindness that will be sorely needed. After a year filled with so much rancor, so much loss and grief, so much blame, so much malicious behavior and nasty rhetoric, it will be extremely important for those whose candidates win this election to behave with gentleness and grace in the face of almost certain massive disappointment and increased fear and rage. Friends, we must be prepared, no matter what happens, to keep cool heads, to stay safe, and exercise caution in our communications and interactions. Believing as we do in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, even those persons whom we absolutely cannot stand right down to our innards, we must dig deeper still to find a way to coexist and move forward together. I hope everyone has their parachute well packed. The plane is about to leave the hangar and take us up for the biggest election jump of our lives. Okay, everyone, move toward the open hatch. Feel the wind on your face. Look at the bright blue sky. Everyone grab hands. Hold your breath. See you when we land. 1, 2, 3, jump. Amen. Shalom. Blessed be.
When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Please say our chalice extinguishing words with us.
As we extinguish this chalice flame, let us remember that we carry the light within ourselves, which brings healing to a broken world and hope for the days ahead.
Siblings and kindred, we are headed into a challenging week. The good news is we go together. We jump together. We will land together. Go in peace. Amen.